I didn't even want to move in here, you know? It wasn't the first choice on my list. It's not the worst apartment ever, sure. But the people next door never shut up. And I hear something in the walls every night. I'm almost sure it's rats. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I got it because it's close to where I work and it was on the cheaper side. All in all, I was happy to move in there. Until this week. Figures, doesn't it? The weird stuff doesn't show up until after I've signed my lease. I signed up for the pests and noise problem, but I didn't sign up for being shot at, especially by a man who isn't really there. It started with the bowl. Just one little bowl that wasn't where it should be. See, I got up early one morning to get ready for work and decided to have a bowl of cereal because there was no way I was going through the trouble of cooking a real breakfast. So I put the bowl on the counter. I remember looking at it, right there on the Formica countertop. It was there. I went to get some milk from the fridge. When I turned around, the bowl was just gone. Vanished. Into thin air. Maybe that's cliché, but it's also terribly true. It simply was not on the counter where I'd most certainly left it. But you know, I was still tired. I figured I was seeing things. Or not seeing them, I guess. Or maybe I had imagined the whole thing. So I opened the cabinet and, lo and behold, the bowl is sitting there. If it had eyes, it would certainly have been staring at me. I grabbed the bowl and put it on the table again. Milk forgotten. I walked out of the kitchen and decided to put my makeup on first. I'd have breakfast just before leaving. Not 10 minutes later, I get to the kitchen, and what do I find? The bowl is gone. Again. I open the cabinet. Again. And it's there. It's there, it's there, it's there. What the hell? I muttered. I was starting to get paranoid now. I actually had the thought that someone had broken into my house and was, moving my cereal bowl? This is stupid, you're stupid. I put the bowl on the counter. I closed my eyes. I counted to 10, and I opened them. Guess where I found the bowl? That's right, in the goddamn cabinet. I guess it's not that big of a deal. In the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty innocuous issue to deal with, you know? I just wish it had ended there. The next morning, I went to take a shower before work. I'd been awake for an hour at that point, so I wasn't groggy or confused by anything. It's important that you understand that. I stepped into the bathroom and my heart practically stopped beating in my chest. There was a man in my shower. I could see his silhouette through the shower curtain. His arms were raised like he was shampooing his hair, but he was standing stock still. Slowly, I bent over to open the cabinet under the sink. I grabbed my curling iron. It was the only thing in the bathroom worthy of being used as a weapon. I walked very, very slowly towards the shower, my breath stuck in my throat. I yanked open the shower curtain, brandishing my makeshift weapon, mouth open to scream for help. Except there was no one there. There was no one there. For a split second, or even half of a split second, I wanted to believe that I was imagining things. I was in a new apartment. I was paranoid because of the stupid bowl thing from the day before. It could have just been my brain freaking out. Except that, just then, I noticed a little stream trickling out from the bottom of the shower. I know this probably sounds crazy to you, or like an over-exaggeration. But the thing is, this wouldn't be the first time I'd seen a ghost. And that's what I started to think that it was. A ghost. Maybe someone who had lived and died in the apartment before me. I've been seeing spirits since I was about 11, you see. Not regularly or anything, just once in a while. My mom told me that I'm sensitive to the spirit world, just like she is. My dad rolled his eyes and didn't believe either of us. All I know is that there are ghosts out there, and I was becoming certain that one of those ghosts was taking up residence in my apartment. A few days went by and things continued as usual, for the most part. I still had issues with bowls and various other dinnerware in my kitchen, and once my mischievous ghost switched my yogurt out for some cheap, gross beer. But there was nothing more major or sinister going on, so slowly I started to relax. I eventually decided that I wanted to throw a housewarming party. I don't know why. Maybe because I was feeling so weird and alien in my own home. I wanted to drive home the fact that it was my apartment. Maybe it would make me feel better. I invited a bunch of friends and work colleagues, bought a ton of chips and beer, and turned on the tunes. I had a pretty good turnout, and although we tried to keep it down, the sound must have gotten out of hand because we started hearing banging on the walls. Everyone at the party went quiet as the banging echoed through the apartment. It was strange. It was like the banging was coming from all sides. I couldn't even tell which neighbor it was we pissed off. But I convinced myself that that's all it was. Just a pissed off neighbor. I had to believe it. I didn't want to consider that it could be something else. That night, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about the banging on the walls. Should I go around and ask my neighbors in the morning if we disturbed them? Somehow, I had the feeling the noise didn't come from any of the surrounding apartments. It was almost like it came from inside my apartment. I decided to turn on the TV so at least there would be some sound in the apartment. The silence was killing me. Maybe it would help me sleep too. So there I sat in bed, watching some brainless reality TV show, when all of a sudden, the TV shut off. What the hell? I muttered. I picked up the remote from the bedside table and turned it back on. I figured it was just a power glitch or something. We used to get those on the farm all the time when I was growing up. It turned off again a few moments later. But this time, I couldn't get it to turn back on. Son of a... I got up, muttering to myself, and went to check on the TV. I couldn't get the damn thing to turn back on until I checked behind the TV. That's when I discovered that the cord had been unplugged from the wall. My hands were shaking as I plugged it back in. I climbed back into bed and turned the TV back on. I set the remote down next to me and waited. For a few moments, everything was fine. And then it shut off. Again. I had this sick, sinking feeling in my stomach. I stared at the remote sitting next to me for a few moments before deciding that I would just leave it off for the night. I would have to sleep without it. It wasn't all that surprising that sleep never came. I think the worst thing, though, is that my books have been stolen by whatever it is living in this goddamn apartment with me. My books are my pride and joy. And, interestingly enough, Pride and Prejudice was the first to go. I set it on my coffee table one day, went to work, and when I came back, it had vanished. Over the next few days, more books started disappearing. I searched high and low for them. My little library is sacred. I don't even lend books out. But no matter where I looked, I couldn't find them. I'm not proud to say that I cried more than once when I realized I'd never be getting them back. The weirdness didn't stop there. A few mornings later, I woke up to find a condom in my bathroom trash can. In case you were wondering, I'm single. And even if I weren't, my sexual orientation makes condoms entirely unnecessary. I felt like I was going crazy. Because if this was a ghost, he was sure getting up to some weird stuff in my apartment. And then, 2 days ago, I saw him. For the first time, I saw whoever it is that's haunting me. I was in the kitchen, drinking my morning coffee, when he appeared standing across from me. He was translucent, the morning sun shining through his skin, but he was definitely there. I stared at him in shock until my trembling fingers lost their grip on the mug and it fell to the floor, shattering into pieces. As soon as it hit the floor, he disappeared. When I finally managed to look down, the pieces were gone too. Last night, things got worse. Quite frankly, they got about as bad as they can be. I woke up in the middle of the night, which is sort of odd for me because I'm a really heavy sleeper. Like, it takes a truck driving through the front door to wake me up. I'm that kind of a sleeper. But I woke up anyway and realized immediately that something wasn't right. There was someone next to me, in bed, sleeping right beside me. I could hear their breathing and feel their weight on the mattress. I opened my eyes and saw him staring at me, his mouth open in shock. I screamed. I screamed like I'd never screamed before. I'd seen ghosts before. I'd experienced haunted stuff, but it was never something physical. It was never a tangible goddamn entity that could reach out and touch me and hurt me and oh God, oh God, oh God! He rolled out of bed and started crouching down, like he was searching for something. I practically launched myself off the other side of the bed, hitting the ground with a hard thump. As I hit the ground, a gunshot shattered the air in the room, piercing my eardrums so hard I thought they might burst. I grabbed my ears in pain and lay there in terror, trembling on the floor. Eventually, the ringing in my ears stopped and I noticed that the room had gone quiet. I peeked over the edge of the bed tentatively. There was nobody there. I was alone in my room. The door was still shut, and I'm sure I would have heard if he left, despite the ringing in my ears. There was no trace of him. It was as though he'd never been in the room. All except for the bullet lodged in the wall, of course. Honestly, I have no idea what to do. I'm living in constant terror in my own home, thinking that he might return. I don't know who he is or what he wants, if he's dead or alive or something else entirely. But I need help. Please, has this happened to anyone else? Can anyone out there help me? I just can't do this anymore.